Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. It is round 2 of the FIDE Grand Swiss. Candidate spots on the line. Facing off against Gukesh is going to be one of the big narratives. It was a big surprise for some that he played this event, and we're going to start with him because he's playing 14-year-old Erdogmus. Apologies for pronunciation. And it was a very interesting game. So Gukesh started with d4, just straight in, because every game he plays is going to be interesting. And he played c3. So he's playing some offbeat stuff, trying to thwart the 14-year-old that he's playing. You can see the bishop comes out, so a little bit Trompowsky-esque. Knight jumps forward, so we bring the bishop back to f4, and we effectively get a bit of like a London system. And queen b6 is an inaccuracy. The best move in this position is g5. Play that against the world champion, if you will. Queen b6 is kind of more traditional London-based stuff. We get f3, knight drops back to d6, knight to d2, knight d7, and now g4. Gukesh is just going for it. Bishop to g6, h4. h6, bishop to g2, e6, h5, kicking the bishop back to h7, and now e4. And you can see Gukesh is throwing lots of pawns forward, but he's gaining lots of space. But he could possibly be creating weaknesses. You can see the players have already started to think on their own. We get a5 now. Black is trying to take some space on the queen side. That's the only place really Gukesh hasn't expanded. Now we get the queen trade, and we get a4, knight bc4. We get this trade, and now look at that knight. Lovely little outpost. We get b3 kicking it out as best as it can. So now you look in this position. Both sides have got exactly the same pieces. Gukesh has got space, but is he overextending? We get e5, knight c8. That's just such a ridiculous move, but it's one of the best moves. Bishop to f1. King d7 now. Now the pieces can shuffle about a little bit as we approach the endgame. There's no need to castle. Knight b6. You're looking for ways to best use your pieces. But this is a very locked position. So both sides happy to trade off a bishop. And now b5 comes. And b5 is an inaccuracy and Gukesh is better. It's plus 1.3 according to the engine. But he's got to play accurately and he's got to play actively. So the best move here is f5, and he plays it. B takes a4, rook takes a4. Now we've got a target. c5 now striking in the center. Knight to e2, and another inaccuracy, c4 check. bc4, and then now this interesting idea, knight b6, taking the rook back, and you take with the knight, and you land the knight on a good square. It can't be removed for the bishop, and you don't actually want to take this bishop because it's kind of locked in by its own pawns. And yes, you can say I can target these and maybe target that, but this knight is very golden, so you don't want to trade it easily. That's kind of Black's main plan, and they're going to look to invest in this pawn. This pawn is its biggest asset and their biggest liability, but the players are now down to a scramble. And this is something people have pointed out about Gukesh. Sometimes he is very, very good in the time scrambles in classical games. But his rapid and his blitz games, when you start with less time on the clock, they're not good, actually. So we get f takes e6, f takes e6, knight to f4. Now Gukesh trying to get a very strong knight. We get rook e8, which is so passive. So passive. Bishop to c1 now, which controls the knight. A bishop 3 squares away from a knight controls it from coming forward. That's not a square the knight can go to. Controls it from coming forward. But this knight's not coming forward at the moment. It's defending this pawn. It's got eyes on a couple of squares, and that's about it. It looks nice. It doesn't have many threats. King c6. Gukesh is still completely winning. We're just looking to find the knockout blow. That's what he's looking for. Rook f1. Rook g8. And now Gukesh's best move here is an interesting move. It's knight to g6. Which looks interesting, right? Knight to g6. This knight looks very strong. But you don't want to take this bishop, probably. Well, you might. You've got to evaluate this trade correctly, but you would be activating probably one of the rooks then. Otherwise, you're kind of just controlling some squares. I can't explain it beyond that. Unfortunately, Gukesh plays king c2 and loses all of his advantage because of one move and one move only, and that move is e7. Now, knight takes e6 is met with g6, which is a mistake, and Gukesh is better. g5 and king d7. Now Gukesh is completely winning again. He's got it winning again. f4. Knight f4. Rook gf8 pins the knight, but you've got rook d1. The knight is still defended by that bishop on c1. Bishop takes. Knight grabs in the center. The pieces are coming off the board. King c6, and now Gukesh has one and only one move in this position, and that is simply to play knight f6. Because even though you get bishop takes h6, bishop takes f6, what you also have now is bishop takes h6, and let's say you attack the bishop, right? Then you've got e takes f6. So you throw in the switch and zook, you attack the rook, and if the rook doesn't move, and let's say you move your bishop out the way, then you've got bishop takes f8, bishop takes f8, and this position with the rook against the two pieces is better for Gukesh because of the pawns. You would take this, and you would be completely winning because of all these three center pawns, this fourth pass pawn, this pawn is nothing, the two pieces mean nothing. So knight f6 is completely winning. It's the only winning move for Gukesh. But he plays bishop takes f6. Bishop takes g5 rather, not f6. And all his advantage is gone. Because the king takes the knight, not the bishop. The bishop comes now onto its little outpost on f6. You've got g takes h5. The rook comes in. We sack the rook for the bishop because we get this check. And we then force a repetition. And Gukesh is held by the 14-year-old in the Grand Swiss. And that is going to be the story. Now, in terms of who won, well, there was a victory on board 2. Who was it for? Well, Alireza Firouzja was 1 out of 1. He's playing Maxim Rodshtein, who also won in the first round. It was an interesting game because it was like a Catalan type position. We got the queens traded early. So Alireza Firouzja, who was voted one of the players of the day for day 1 for his masterful endgame win. Didn't cover that, so we cover him today. We had queens traded early. It's a queenless endgame middle game. White has got a very damaged structure. If we just highlighted, you've got the double pawns here. This pawn is not weak yet. It's well defended, and you can play e3. But this is White's main problem. Black has got maybe a bit clunky coordination, but that can be sorted out. So we get bishop to e7, e4, and the game goes on for a while. We don't want to be here forever. The players look to kind of break through in the center. They take space on the king side. We get a rerouting of the light squared bishop for white. Alireza moving his rooks. You can see changes plans. They were double on the d file. We get a rook trade, and now e5 is the critical mistake here, the first mistake. And Alireza is better. And the best move here is to play b6, which he finds. E takes f6, g takes f6, the knight retreats. But Alireza goes wrong. He plays knight to c6, which is considered a blunder, but it doesn't lose the game. It just loses him all the advantage, so he's going to find a way to build it up again. Bishop takes c5 is a bit of a step in the wrong direction, and knight c2 is definitely a step in the wrong direction. There's no reason to be going back. There are better moves that you have to find. Bishop to g6 is away some of the advantage because of b4. We get b5 and knight a3. Knight 4 a3 is the wrong way, and now you get knight takes b4. We get this trade, so Alireza is now up a pawn, and he's got a dominant position. He gives away the pawn, but he brings in his bishops are dominating. There's no play for white. You try to force a perpetual, there's nothing there. Alireza coordinates his pieces and pushes through that a-pawn and wins the game. 51 moves. Alireza played well. 22 minutes on the clock, 39 minutes on the clock. It was a good day for Alireza Firouzja. Who's joining him in the lead? One of my favorite players, actually. Parham, Maghsoodloo, or David Anton. Parham, obviously, from... I can't remember where he's from. I think he's from Iran, but I don't want to put words in his mouth. And we've got the Spaniard, David Anton. And this was an interesting opening. If you go back, it was c45, so it came from a reverse Sicilian in the English game, which is a video I've made recently. And there was a lot of knight maneuvering. The queens were out early, a lot of queen trade, and long castles. So these players are going to fight. Long castles, it's a little bit more, it's not quite as dynamic as if the queens were still on the board. You can see pushing pawns on the queen side, white doing the same on the king side. I think I may have just said they're both attacking on the king side. Black is attacking on the queen side, white is attacking on the king side. Let's get that clear. White get their bishop kind of low-key trapped here on c6, b6 rather, not c6. So there's got to be an evacuation plan of it. You can't win it yet. It miraculously kind of survives. The rook is trapped and just straight up sacrificed, but mate is threatened. So you cannot take the rook, by the way, because you would be mate in 1. Lovely way to lose the game, just on the spot. So instead of that, we get rook d7, which means that the king can go there if you give this check. So now we get knight a2, check, king d2, and you may have noticed the evaluation bars just kept creeping up. Bishop to c6, king to e1, bishop takes d7, and rook takes d7, and black resigns. White wins, Parham Maghsoodloo wins, and I don't understand why. I don't know if David Anton flagged. He's only got 37 seconds, so he may have flagged. I didn't actually see the stream, unfortunately. I didn't see the end of the game. This is a dominant position for white, despite being down a pawn, and a rook, actually. They're down in the exchange. Simply because the king is weak. This pawn will fall. That is hanging, and that is hanging through it. So it's a terrible, terrible position for black, and it's almost indefensible. Checking in on a few other games, we obviously got to look for Hans Nieman. I'm just scrolling to find his game. He's obviously on one of the lower boards, because he drew yesterday, so he will be on one of the half points. Hang on, where is he? We're looking for America. Sam Shanklin, Jeffrey Zhang, Yanni Pomnishi, Hans Nieman. Yesterday he drew. Today he plays a Sicilian defense with a Rossalimo, I believe this is, and we get this interesting structure for black. So I'm never sure about playing e5 when you've got your bishop here, but these are GMs, they know a lot of stuff. We get a4, queen c7, and white looks to instigate. Black could here try and damage the structure. This is now threatened, so the queen has to move. We get queen to e2, bishop takes, and now both sides just have the most dreadful pawn structures I could have imagined. If you said create terrible pawn structures, it would look something like this. Let's not highlight the queen, that's not part of a pawn structure. Like it would look something like this, right? This is what I would make if you were making terrible pawn structures. We pin the knight, we push out some pieces, we get this trade. And there's not much that happens. It actually gets quite locked up, and there's not many open lines. You've got knight versus bishop, and you've got one open file to fight for. So now you can play king g2. Sorry, I had something fizzy, so a little bit of gas there in my throat. h5. Now everything kind of locked on the king side. The queen side's kind of locked. The center's kind of locked, barring the one file, which they now fight for. King g7. We get this rook trade and the rook coming through, but now we get rook d3. Rook takes d3, queen takes d3. And very soon after that, the players maneuver their pieces. White is probably the one playing with initiative, but they do end up repeating moves and making a draw. 31 moves. So Hansen held twice, so he's yet to get on the board. And I think that's it in terms of games. We've obviously looked at 4 games today, a little bit quicker, but it's because I want to kind of talk you through some of the other results. So Alireza Firouzja won. Parham Maghsoodloo won. Anton Demchenko beat Sam Shanklin. So there's kind of 3 players near the top. Pragdananda Rameshbabu got his first win. Arjun Erigaisi was in trouble, but managed to turn it around and he got a win. And Vincent Keimer won against Jeffrey Zhang. So those are kind of the players near the top. That'll be on 1.5 or 2 points. Elsewhere, a win for Maxim Rodshtein, a win for Yu Yang, a win for Ricard Rapport, a win for Nihal Saran. So lots of the Indians will be near the top. You've got Arjun, you've got Prague, you've got Gukesh. And now you've got Nihal Sarin. So 4 there near the top. Esipenko wins. Mishra, one of the youngest Grandmaster, or one of the youngest Grandmasters ever, Amadou Mishra from the United States, he defeated Alexei Sarana. Leon Luke Mendonca, who's another Indian, also with a win. So a lot more wins today. Nordubek Yakubayev with the win, not Nordubek Abdusatorov. He was held to a draw. There was a win for Alexander Predke against Ray Robson. A win for Yurey Kusubov. A win for Grigory Operan from the United States. A win for Cristobal from Chile. A win for Jules Moussard from France, who's got beef with Gotham Chess. That's the only way I know him. Botez called him in... It was Andrea Botez called him in a sub-battle. That's all I know about him. But I'm assuming he's a fantastic player. Seismun Gulumarez from Poland with a win. Mateusz Bartel from also Poland. Yeah, both from Poland. They get a win. Daniel Yufa from Spain gets the win. Vladimir Fedoseev bounces back and he gets a win. Aryan Chopra with the win. Amin Basim with a win. And then Robert Hushaifan defeated the poor untitled Nigerian player Tennyson Olisa. Divya Deshmaku held Alexander Demchenko. And where is she? Goryachkika. Alexandra Goryachkika drew with Etienne Bacro, who played Gukesh yesterday. So both of the ladies in the open section, of course, now with a point in hand. So that is kind of your standings in terms of round 2. It seems like all the games have been completed. I will be honest, I did start this when 3 of the games, I think it finished but hadn't been officially tallied on the website. So I don't think the round 3 pairings are out. Let me check on the chess. It's probably breaking on here. So let me just turn the window capture off. No, hide window capture. There we go. So you will just have to look at me for a couple of seconds. I apologize. Let's go look on chess.com quickly if the round 3 pairings are out. I don't think they are. No, so there's no round 3 pairings for you. So just as a potential, Alireza Firouzja will be near the top, and he will be playing probably one of Parham Maghsoodloo or Anton Demchenko. He could play Pragdananda as well. Those will probably be one of the 2 players he plays. Gukesh with a draw. He's now on 1.5. So he could be playing anybody on 1.5. He had white today, so he will most likely have black tomorrow against someone who had black today. There could be Nordubek Abdusatorov. I'm waiting for that game to happen. Surely it's got to happen. It could be, though, Salem Saleh. It could be Vidit Gujarati. It could be Boris Gelfand as some of your likely candidates as well. So we wait and see. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. So far, the Grand Swiss has been epic. In terms of your overall leaders, there are 3 players on 2 points, that being Anton Demchenko, Alireza Firouzja, and Parham Maghsoodloo. There are then a lot of players on 1.5, up until at least player 25 with MVL. Yanni Pomnish is on 1.5. He, of course, won today. Arjun Aragasi, Vincent Kaimer, Pragdananda Rameshbabu, Vidit Gujarati, Anishki, Nordubek Abdusatorov, Gukesh, Matthias Bartel, Jules Moussard. A lot of players. So the Grand Swiss is exciting as ever. I hope you enjoyed the video. If there's specific players, specific games, specific storylines that I'm maybe not mentioning, please tell me in the comments below.